This is an excerpt of Radio Kingston on June 24th. Neil Goldstein being interviewed about the upcoming ARRL Field Day in Rhinebeck, New York.
Before 9 o'clock, and with me right now is Neil Goldstein. Neil is one of the club directors with the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club, and they have an event coming up this weekend we want to talk about for a few minutes. And Neil, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, Warren. Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. Everyone is always intrigued. I've always been intrigued by amateur radio, ham radio, and maybe you could give us a little background on the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club has been around for quite a while. I don't have a lot of the specific history statistics. We have been building the club back up, and we have a lot of new leadership. And during the pandemic, we absorbed a lot of new members. We currently have a lot of new amateur radio operators, a lot of people willing to learn. And then we have a core group of people who have been in the hobby for a while. Myself, I've been in for almost 10 years, but I've been around radios since I was a little kid. And it's a lot of people look at our hobby as being an older, outmoded form of technology, but what actually attracted me to get back into it, and one of the great things about this group, the local group, is that there's so much modern technology coming into amateur radio, and that's really what attracted me.
What is it like being an amateur ham radio operator? Just talk about that a little bit.
There's something in it for almost everyone. But personally, I responded to the technical side of it because I'm a computer technician, both by trade and by hobby. And there's a lot of computer integration in amateur radio. Digital communications, actually text communications, digital voice communications, and a lot of interfacing and automation. And it's what brought me back into the hobby. There's a social aspect to it, so a lot of people who simply want to socialize, and that's one of the things that made our local club grow during the pandemic, is people were looking for other ways to socialize than they were normally used to. There's a public service component, and people who want to perform a public service who may not qualify for some agencies or some volunteer groups can devote their radio skills to emergency communications, and that's something that we're just setting our feet back into right now, is getting the club back involved in the several organizations in amateur radio that serve to communicate in disasters and emergency situations, and we're constantly having drills to keep our skills sharp. Part of what our club has is something called an amateur radio repeater. It's a radio receiver and transmitter in one that's designed to receive low power signals and retransmit them at much higher power over a larger range. And it allows you to communicate over a very large area with a very low power radio, like a walkie-talkie. What's cool about Overlook is that our repeater is on Mount Overlook. So the range is incredible, and we've picked up a lot of people because of that.
Yeah, tell our listeners about this event. You're having a 24-hour event this weekend from the Ferncliff Forest in Rhinebeck.
Yes, so the governing body of amateur radio in the United States is called the American Radio Relay League, or ARRL. And every year, the last weekend in June is called Amateur Radio Field Day. And it's a demonstration event, it's a practice event, and it's also a contest. The demonstration part of it is that we usually, each club that gets involved will set up in a public place and promote that, like I'm doing now, and invite the public to come out and see what it's about. We're going to have anywhere from 4 to 7 stations operating with a network of antennas. Some of our stations will be communicating with people all over the world, and we hope to have a special station where somebody who wants to experience amateur radio or ham radio can get on the air, and with a ham radio operator supervising them, they can try it out and see what it's like. And we can give you information on how to get properly licensed. It's not hard. It does not require knowledge of Morse code anymore like it did years ago. It does have a lot to offer. So we'll be there from 2 p.m. on Saturday to about 1 p.m. on Sunday, and that's at the Ferncliff Forest, 68 Mount Rutson Road in Rhinebeck, New York.
And that's throughout the night, overnight, continuously?
Yes. We're always trying to see how many people we can get for the overnight. That's usually the thin part of our schedule, but there's always a couple of night owls that like to operate.
What's the content when you're on the air as a ham operator?
There's different content. When you're not looking at a contest, there are a lot of people who simply try to see how far and how many stations they can get from how many different places around the world. And you'll hear those people making quick contacts and exchanging information. That can also be done now digitally. We have numerous formats where you use a computer and the radio and make a contact with somebody in text form and exchange information and log it. There's all sorts of awards and recognitions you can get for the number of countries or number of states you've contacted. There are plenty of people who get on the air and just chat, have a 20-minute conversation with somebody from South Africa or England or Texas or South America. There's people from all over the world on the air. There's even somebody operating from the McMurdo base on Antarctica periodically. You can talk to people on the International Space Station, although primarily we use the space station for relaying signals because they have a repeater on there. They do set up conversations with the staff on the ISS and classrooms, usually, using local amateur radio clubs to provide the communication. There is emergency communications and lots of drills and plans and people preparing for that eventuality. And there are structured check-ins and conversations called nets. Some of the nets are held just for fun, just for people to go around and talk about what they're doing and what's going on. And some of the nets are actually structured for a purpose, to keep people in practice for reporting severe weather situations or emergencies, or being able to relay communications from a point to a point when our normal methods of communications are down. We even have a way of doing email over radio when all of those lines are down.
Neil, if folks listening right now would like to get involved, become a member of the club, how does that work?
If you'd like to contact the local club, and we do cover a large area of Ulster County and Northern Dutchess County, our website is omarkclub.org.